Welcome. Watch the Game podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you're warm and safe, cozy in your home tonight in the greater Midwest, Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana. Watch the Game podcast. I'm your man, L.A. Cheatham.
Benjamin Banneker, good people, what's going on? What's going on? I hope you are warm. I hope you ain't go outside today because it's cold and that hawk is for real.
Yeah, man. I ran my errands today. The Hawk is definitely out for the past 2 days. I've been out trying to, either beat the snow or beat the Hawk, one or the other. And all I can think about is Soldier Field, Saturday afternoon, Christmas Eve. You got to applaud the fans that even show up for this game. It's cold out there, man. It's going to be interesting to see who actually what we know the game is going to be played, but my hat's off to the fans that have tickets to these games, to this game anyway.
Listen, I don't even know if we have free tickets to go sit in the skybox at Soldier Field for this game. I don't know if I'm going to this. Like, we watched this one on the crib, you know what I'm saying, from Field Street Studios or something, because I don't know about this. Remember we went to that game when they played the Seahawks, and it was a Sunday night game, and that was October. When that sun went down, it got cold out there then, so I know I ain't fooling with it on no weather like this.
Well, that night, if I remember correctly, that was the season that the Bears made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Your old high school basketball teammate and comrade, Big Ten, Ohio State, offensive guard. Did he play guard or tackle?
He was a guard, yeah.
Big Rob Sims was on the Seahawks at that time. I don't know if it was his first or second year in the league, but that night in particular, I remember walking from the parking garage to Soldier Field. It was cold. It was nippy. I think it was a little bit of rain that night, but it wasn't this. It definitely was not this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, hats off to the friends that show up for this game tomorrow. Just before we went on, we went to talking about some injuries and how timely is it? Jalen Johnson, said Kendall Vildor of the Bears, both going injured reserve today, just in time not to get frostbitten in the game tomorrow. Now, I wonder if they're going to even be in attendance.
Yeah, do they have to be on the sideline for that? Like, because I don't want to do that.
Hey, if you on the practice squad, if you on injured reserve, if you go to this game, you're a fan, my hat's off to you. Also to the media that's got to go out there and weather this thing, and it's just going to be cold. They saying it's going to be one of the coldest games ever played at Soldier Field tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting. Now, when I think about that, I think about today when I was out running my errands. I went and done a little shoveling of snow and stuff like that. Man, my feet got really, really cold. And I'm like, damn, they're going to be out there wearing cleats and this. I don't know, bro. I don't know. But nevertheless, week 17, week 17, is it?
16. It's 16.
Okay, yeah. Week 16 in the NFL must go on. The Bears, Bills. Let me just say it's going to be interesting. And I just really want to cover some of the better games throughout the weekend, NFL, NBA, stuff like that. It's just going to be interesting whatever goes down at Soldier Field. Hats off to the fans that show up.
Hey, I bet you Bearweather, they like, yo, we should have had a dome. I know everybody is thinking that right now. So Bears, Illinois, if you come please do not have an open air stadium because this don't even make no sense.
From what I understand, there will be a dome. It will not be retractable. They're even saving money on this. I'm hearing it will not be retractable. Something to think about on a day like days like this and days like tomorrow. Come 12 noon tomorrow, Central Standard Time in Chicago on the lakefront.
Yeah.
on the lakefront.
D-
So you know it's gonna be cold out there.
Man, can you imagine if this was a 6 o'clock kickoff?
PM.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
no.
Oh yeah. Man,
I'm coming
man.
down with an injury and walk through. I'm not playing.
I'm telling you, I don't want to call out Jalen and Vildor, but hey, they on injury reserve all of a sudden. I mean, hey,
Hey,
maybe they tried to tough it out in practice. Like, hey man, we out of it, ain't we? We kind of out of it. What my contract look like? I got some time left on that thing. All right, y'all put me on the reserve list. Injured, I am. Good luck. Um, uh, some small goals that can be achieved in this game under some adverse conditions. Justin Fields needs 206 yards to, I think, break the record for quarterbacks rushing that's currently held by Lamar Jackson. That's one thing to kind of look forward to the rest of the season. You mentioned the Pro Bowl selections were announced recently. Uh,
yeah,
I'm not really up on some of those names. Can you address me on that?
yeah. Well, none of our Bears got on there, but when you are 3-11, that's our record, right? 3-11 football team. I'm surprised Justin didn't get on there, but the quarterbacks was Jalen Hurts, obviously, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith. I'm glad Geno got on there because Geno's been having a great year, it's a bounce back year for him. Kudos, hats off to Geno. But the Kirk Cousins one, I know they got a nice record. They sitting, I think they're in the 2 seed right now for the NFC, 2 or 3 somewhere that up there leading the division. But the season that Justin Fields is having, I think that warrants him being a Pro Bowl selection. That's just me. You can call me a homer if you want, but what this kid has been doing, we just said he's 206 yards away from breaking the rushing record for a quarterback. So I know you can't take it away from Kirk Cousins, like, just because he probably been a Pro Bowler before and he got experience in the league, that's not a reason to ding him and give it to Justin. But I think from the fans' perspective, they much rather see Justin Fields in the flag football Pro Bowl game because he probably gonna do some crazy, amazing stuff in the flag football game than Kirk Cousins. So, but yeah, no Chicago Bears was selected. I just rounded out for you real quick. We got Saquon, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders rounding out the running backs. Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, and Terry McLaurin from the Redskins football team, Washington Commanders. George Kittle and TJ Hawkinson at the tight ends. Offensive linemen, we had Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, Tristan Wirfs, Zach Martin, Landon Dickerson, Chris Lindstrom from the Falcons. They didn't have a really good, but I guess they still in contention. Jason Kelsey from the Eagles at center. Defense, you got Bosa, Burns, DeMarcus Lawrence, bounce back year for him. Aaron Donald, Jonathan Allen, Dexter Lawrence from the Giants, Michael Parsons, Zadarius Smith, Hassan Reddick from the Eagles, Fred Warner, Demario Davis, and then the cornerbacks, Darius Slay, Trevon Diggs, Tariq Woolen, and Jair Alexander, who is not having the best year, but he made it. And then you got Quandre Diggs for the safeties and Buda Baker, and I can't even say the other dude name from the 49ers, but he made it.
Now, interesting. We talk naming the quarterbacks, and all of those quarterbacks are in the hunt for the playoffs. But the one name for that I don't. That was just the NFC list. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's just NFC.
The one name that is not on that list is the GOAT, Tom Brady.
Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr.
You made an argument for Justin as being a homer. I can understand it is a homer call. They're not going to put Justin in the Pro Bowl with 3 victories on the season. As bright as his light is shining right now, I mean his team is not having the success, and I think that's where you get your top 3 quarterbacks for the Pro Bowl. But Tom Brady isn't on that list. He's still fighting to get into the playoffs. They are winning at the top of the division, but not impressive, should I say? But I mean, Justin Fields. I seen that on social media some bad. I mean, a couple Bears fan groups, and they were saying they were trying to figure out why Justin was on this team. I understand why Justin is not on this team. Justin don't deserve to be on this team. I'm just being honest with you. His team is not winning. He's the only thing worth talking about right now. I just hope Justin can make it through the Buffalo Bills game without either getting injured or frostbitten. One of them. So, hats off to the guy that made it. Gino, shouts out to Gino. Uh, you can pretty much say a career backup coming out of West Virginia. Maybe had high expectations. I think he get picked up by the Jets. He got drafted by the Jets.
Yeah.
Went to New York. It didn't work out. For the better part, has been in Seattle. We backed up Russell Wilson for a few years. They part ways with Russell, and now he's the man with the team on the verge of the playoffs. Great comeback story for Geno Smith. Well deserving of being a Pro Bowler. But when you think about it, it's the exact opposite of what Tom Brady is right now. Tom Brady, champion, personified, GOAT, no Pro Bowl this year for Tom Brady. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, he's not on there. No Tom Brady, no Tom Brady. And I mean, he's not deserving of it. I think I heard a stat on Undisputed, watching Skip and Shannon the other day. He's like ranked 31st. And between Baker Mayfield and I forget who the other quarterback was. So that just lets you know how bad of a year that the Buccaneers are having, how bad a year he's having. Part of the reason is they don't run the ball. But he want to drop back and throw the ball 55 times a game. I guess go for it, but it's just ain't
Well, I just don't think that. I don't think that's any good running the football. I think Fournette is maybe a little tad bit overweight, and I forget who the backup is. They picked up, but they got him. He's improved it a little bit. I don't know his name for sure. He's the backup, but Fournette, I think he's a tad bit overweight. Came in camp a little bit overweight, and I think he's looked better in the past few weeks, but they're not really effective in the running game, and I think that's reason why Tom is electing and Leftwich, the offensive coordinator. I believe that's why they're electing to throw the ball as much, put it on Tom. But think about it when we go back to the beginning of the off season, well, to the end of the off season, going into training camp. It all started downhill from there because Tom Brady needed time off for what we know now to be personal issues, and it's just been downhill ever since. You know what I'm saying? It got to the point when they won a game, they were so elated to win a game. I mean, damn. The last time you seen Tom Brady in that situation, I think I've never really seen Tom Brady just to be happy to win a regular season game. And I kind of forget who they beat that day, but they were just elated to win a regular season game. We talking about the GOAT.
yeah,
The GOAT. Come
yeah.
on, man. Just now I'm gonna take a wild guess. I'm gonna take a wild guess on the AFC quarterbacks.
All right. I got it. I got the list pulled up.
Well, we will. This is the game show portion of Watch the Game podcast. I'm gonna take a guess. Uh, Patrick Mahomes,
Obvious. Yep.
Joe Burrow,
Yep.
and Josh Allen.
Bingo. You
Okay.
made it to the lightning round.
Okay, yeah, that was a wild guess, and I just went with the same formula that they went with in the NFC. So those teams are at the top of their divisions, on track to be on the playoffs, and maybe get to the Super Bowl. I think it's gonna be interesting. The NFC and the AFC can't really call it. Can't really call it right now to see which one of those teams in either side, AFC or NFC, are gonna be favorites to go to the Super Bowl because Buffalo came out like gangbusters against the Rams, and they looked like they were ready to do the Super Bowl shuffle. They look like the '85 Bears.
Right.
But they had some struggles running the footballs, things like that. I think Josh Allen might be leading them in rushing as well, just like Justin Fields is leading the Bears in rushing. I don't know if that's a formula that you can win with um, to win the Super Bowl with your quarterback rushing, leading the team in rushing. The thing they have on their side is that if you want to win the AFC, it might have to go through Buffalo.
Yeah, and didn't they beat the Chiefs earlier this year too? I think
They did beat the Chiefs. The first matchup, I think, second or third week of the season, I think they matched up, and I think they did. I want to say they did beat the Chiefs.
in Kansas City, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And this time, if they meet up, it would probably be in Buffalo. But I mean, it's going to be a tough task either way. I'm not really as sold on the Buffalo Bills now as I was earlier in the season.
Cincinnati seems to be the team that everybody, the national media is jumping on, especially since Jamar Chase has can't come back. And Burrow just keeps doing Joe Burrow things. They was playing GOAT last weekend, and they was down 17-0, well 17-3 at halftime. They come out, I think they put up like 27 unanswered in the third quarter, and it was a wrap on that. And I think this week they playing the Patriots. I don't know if they playing at Foxborough. It's a home game, but I definitely can see they just seem like they got the makeup. It don't matter where they got to go play. They can just go play. They didn't have home field last year. They went into Arrowhead. They went into Tennessee, won 2 games on the road, get to the Super Bowl, and then fell a little bit short. But it just they don't have the same physicality and mindset, I don't think, as the 49ers, because I think we think that's the toughest team in the league. But I think they kind of close. They got that kind of moxie and swagger. So I don't even think it matters to them. As long as they get in, even if they got to play the first weekend, they don't care. They talented enough to win it with Joe Mixon, the backup running game. Name start with a P. It slipped my mind right now. Then you got Boyd, you got Higgins, and Jamar Chase on the outside. Joe Burrow, again, I think he's third right now in the MVP voting right now. Like these dudes is ready.
Yeah, I think you're talking about P Ryan, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
mistaken,
yeah,
for the backup tailback running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals looking good recent week, as you say, like you said, they beat Tampa Bay convincingly, come from behind, convincingly beating Tampa in Tampa. Okay, so I think their experience from making the Super Bowl last season is starting to show itself. They played a few games without Jamar Chase, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
this season, and maybe during that time, another wide receiver was able to emerge and build chemistry with Burrow. So that probably made them a little bit better going forward, getting ready for this playoff run down the stretch. Um, so I want to get back to some on the AFC Pro Bowl selection. We didn't go all the way down the list. We just talked about the quarterbacks, but former Bear that we traded, Roquan Smith, has finally gotten a chance. He's getting his opportunity to be named a Pro Bowler after being overlooked for years, leading the league in tackles at one point. He finally got an opportunity to become a Pro Bowler, and I don't think this is one of his best years, to be honest with you, considering the fact if you look at I think he was emerging as probably the top tackler with the Bears at one point before he got traded, which is that was really productive, but there was no winning attached. Not a lot of winning attached. So then he gets traded to Baltimore. Now he's had to buy in. He's looked good with Baltimore. He's looked good. I'm not going not the best, but he's looked good. And Patrick Queen on the other side of him, they probably make each other better. But he's finally getting an opportunity to get named as Pro Bowl. And I think now, whether or not he gets an agent that can sell this, now he probably can sell that on his own. Don't get me wrong. Pro Bowl, I mean, you don't need an agent to sell that.
Right, right.
But I don't know if I gotta think it does up his value a little bit, but the the remainder of this season and how the Ravens finish, and then the contract negotiations of Lamar Jackson.
Who's out right now? Injured.
Yeah. Okay, so no agent for Lamar, no agent for Roquan that we know of right now. Uh, Lamar, they said his mom's doing the dealing. I don't know, but uh, if they don't if they're not convincing in the playoff run, it makes you wonder: do we pay Raekwon? Do they pay Lamar Jackson? It's gonna be hard to give both of those guys what they want.
Well, obviously, in that scenario, we know who's if we have to cut bait with one, we know who's gonna get cut bait with. I mean, Lamar Jackson is an MVP, a former MVP of this league. You know, quarterbacks are hard to come by in this league once you got one and it's working for you. Even if we just saw it with the Dallas Cowboys, they wasn't completely sold on Dak, but the unknown is worse than what they got with Dak, so they had to overpay for him. So Lamar's gonna get his money whether he gets what he wants, that remains to be seen. But if they have to cut bait with one of these two players, obviously it's going to be Roquan because, I mean, you got to just be looking at it. If Roquan walks in free agency, we can get somebody through the draft to take that spot, at least be serviceable, at least to plug a gap. You know, he may not give us the production that Roquan is getting us, but we can't bankrupt the franchise on a linebacker. We just can't do it. That's not selling tickets. That's not how you win football games. We got to have this guy. So yeah, we know Lamar gonna get his money. They 9-5 right now. I think he's gonna be out for this week's game. I know they was talking about it on Undisputed, and Shannon Sharp was saying, "Hey, if it's me, I'm not playing because I ain't got my money yet."
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But another Chicago Bear that was just on the team last year that made the Pro Bowl, Khalil Mack.
Okay,
Khalil
I
Mack,
didn't know that.
yeah.
I didn't know that. This again a guy that was Pro Bowl worthy, Pro Bowl caliber player, but this year he's attached to a little bit of winning. I'm not familiar with exactly what the Chargers' record is right now, but I do believe they are in the playoff hunt.
8-6, stay in second place in the AFC West.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you're attached to winning to a superstar athlete. I don't care what the position may be, defense, offense. His chances to make the Pro Bowl and get that extra incentive that may be riding in on his contract. I think the opportunity for those guys to make money are better once they make this Pro Bowl. But I just had to mention that Roquan is a Pro Bowler this season. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects his contract negotiations going forward. And I think it's going to also be attached to the outcome of winning or losing as far as the Ravens and their playoff chances. Also, Lamar Jackson's contract negotiation. A lot to think about when you talk about Roquan Smith from Baltimore Ravens and him being able to get a contract that he wants in Baltimore. Um, just to touch back on a couple things, we could jump in to some of the better matchups. To touch back on to, I don't know if we mentioned uh with the Bears and Bills matchup, and we could get off to some of these better matchups on week 7, week 16 NFL. Um, I think you say Claypool is doubtful. Is Jaquan Brisker out?
Let's see. I didn't see Brisker on the
Okay.
official
Okay.
list from what they
Okay.
posted today.
So he must be playing. He must be getting ready for the frostbite. Uh, all right. So we move on to St. Brown is out. You said that, right?
UQ is out, yes.
Okay,
Concussion.
EQ St. Brown is out. Some of the interesting matchups, week 16, we got 2 days. We got an onslaught of games on Saturday, Christmas Eve, and then we got about 3 games on Sunday, Christmas Day. They're going to be competing with the NBA, which is going to be interesting. What would you do if somebody told you you got tickets to go to the NBA game of your choice on Christmas or a NFL game of Christmas on of your choice?
So I get the whole slate. What I'm doing? Oh, I'm going to the NBA game. I'm going to the NBA. I'm either going to Boston versus the Celtics. I mean, no, Boston versus Milwaukee, or I'm going to Golden State Grizzlies. Hands down.
I got you. I'm gonna get into some NBA, my opinion on how the game is played in a little bit, but me personally, I want to go see the Miami Dolphins and the Green Bay
You
the
going?
nightcap of Christmas night. I think that's the game I would want to go see. I'm trying to think.
What they
Because
play?
when you're thinking about it, the Green Bay Packers have to win out. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, but they have to win out. The Miami Dolphins are playing well, I want to say. I don't know if they're going to be an AFC favorite, but they are playing well. And as I told you earlier, my Wi-Fi in the building and here is really out of whack. So I'm gonna need your help on this.
I got their
Give
record.
me the run of game in the NFL on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day games. I got you. So we got Christmas Day kicking it off. Your game. We got Packers Dolphins at 12. At the 3:30 game, we have Broncos Rams, and the nightcap is Buccaneers Cardinals.
Okay, so the Dolphins and Packers has the potential to be the best game of the weekend, only because there's so much at stake for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and in a must-win situation. Where's that game being played?
That's in South Beach. That's why I thought you picked it because it was in South Beach.
Hey, that's even more so reason. Shout out to my man Stephen A. You know what Stephen A. say? He loved going to LA and
In
he
Miami.
loved going to South Beach.
Yeah.
As long as the NBA Finals in one of those spots, he cool. But you know, like I said, that game has the potential to be one of the better games of the weekend, NBA or NFL. Because when you think about it, the NBA games, if I had to pick an NBA game of interest, I told you it'll be Milwaukee, Boston, just from a team aspect, matchups, not so much because of who's on the floor of the superstar status or something like that. Because I think will LeBron be healthy playing against the Dallas Mavericks? Him and Luca going at it.
We just saw that 2 years ago though on Christmas Day in 2020. They just played, so we've seen that before. I mean, I know LeBron in year 20, Luca's on the come up. They trying to push him up to the stature so he can get MVP, but he just don't. He just don't never really get there. But he's still a great basketball player. But yeah, we've seen LeBron, Luca on Christmas, so I'm not really that interested in that. You got Bucks and Celtics. This is for the top of the Eastern Conference. I think the Bucks are 22-9 and the Celtics are 22-10, something like that. So it's it's got a little bit of interest. This is the first time they didn't play since the 7-game series they had in the playoffs since last year. That was testy. You can argue that if the Bucks had Middleton last year in that series, it might have went a different way. The Celtics might not have been in the finals. Jimmy Butler might have been able to beat the Bucks. Like, we just never know. A lot could have went, a different way if Middleton would have been there. So that's
If Jimmy Butler would have took his ass to the hole instead of shooting that three against Boston, Miami Heat probably would have been in the finals last season. But
I'm still not mad at
since
that
you
shot.
brought it up,
Yeah, I'm not mad at that shot. I thought it was online. He was just short,
hey man, I'm going for the tie. He had the big man backing up at the rim. He might have even got a hand one and got the three points anyway. But the Knicks. We're gonna go over these NBA matchups on Christmas Day. The Knicks, Sixers, as my Wi-Fi is jumping in and out, as you can see. Uh, Knicks Sixers. That's the noon game Eastern time. Then the Lakers, Mavericks, uh, that 4 o'clock, well, Central Time, 5 o'clock Central Time. Bucks, Celtics. 7 o'clock ABC prime time will be Grizzlies, Warriors. You told me you like that matchup.
Yeah.
Is John Morant going to be healthy? Because some of these NBA stars, man, they this load management in the NBA is just getting so out of hand. You don't know who's playing on any given night. It just, I mean, what do we have to look forward to?
Well, I gotta think that the Stars gonna play because this is such a marquee day for the NBA. If you healthy, you gonna play. Ain't gonna be no load management on Christmas Day. So I expect to see all the stars if they can go, minus Anthony Davis because we know he out. He's injured again. They'll play. But I was watching. Who was I watching earlier this week? It was Bulls in the Heat, and it was no Kyle Lowry. It was no Jimmy. It was hard to watch because one thing we talk about here is every team tries to play like every other team, and all this switching on defense. The Bulls just kept coming down, running pick and roll with Vooch, and getting him matched up on Max Strus or Tyler Hero and just dumping it down and just playing off of that. And the Heat kept doing it every single time. So much to the point I had to turn the game on. I started watching Virginia and Miami college basketball because I could not. Like Spo, you're a much better coach than this. Stop switching. Just stop switching. But everybody want to switch. Everybody want to shoot threes. And it's so much. This is just a 10. It's so much signage on the court now. Have you noticed how many advertisements is on the court? It's all these.
Not only on the court, on the uniforms,
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
it's too much, And then the Bulls might come out with some baby blue jerseys on some game. Like, who is even playing? It's so frustrating to see this. And I know Adam Silver was looking for a lot of new revenue streams. Bro, you got it. Okay, cool out. Like, we can't even recognize what the game is. Bring David Stern back because some of this stuff needs to be real, for real.
Well, I don't think David Stern want to come back to these temperatures, but check this out. You took the words out of my mouth. You tune into these games and for two reasons. You got the load management and you got the uniform where you cannot identify who's on the court. Now, one night I think I was off that night, so I want to, let me check out the Lakers and the Suns. I'm like, okay, cool, let me check this out. So I tuned in the game. I think that was on Monday. And the Lakers did not. Now they had on the gold jerseys, and they had on the Laker gold uniforms.
Okay, so
but they did not look recognizable just based on who was on the floor. I'm like, who is this and who is that? Let me tell you this: Scottie Pippen Jr. was the point guard that night. So that just goes to tell you that he's on a two-way deal.
Yeah,
and he was playing significant minutes in this game. So I'm like, well, damn, are they load managing for Christmas or what? I'm like, I don't even know these dudes.
yeah.
So to make a long story short, I just really got interested in the game. It was a 20-point blowout, 30-point, something like that. Suns winning, scoring 130 points. I think even Devin Booker was on the bench that night. He was in civilian clothes. He was in street clothes. But I'm just saying, it's like you said, if you either don't recognize the uniforms or you don't recognize the lineups. And coming from the era in which we come from, watching basketball games, it's just so different. I think I remember talking to your dad, number 12. I talked to him about some interesting things I want to do too here. Watch the game podcast. We're gonna try and do later on down the line with some of our Northwest Indiana hoopers of the past. But he always mentioned he's like, man, I'd be down if I bought my kids some tickets. Think I want to go there and Jordan ain't dressing. I paid all that hard-earned money for them tickets, and Michael Jordan ain't dressing. I done went and took my son to see the Bulls, and Jordan ain't dressing. Come on, man. They got to do better, man. And then when you consider the fact that they have extended the season, meaning they start earlier so that they can get more time to rest.
Yeah.
And it still just seems to be just a problem with guys just not playing in regular season basketball games. I mean,
Man, I give you a current story. My one of my partners from high school, boy Ahmad, his son's favorite player is Luca. Luca just played Cleveland. I think it was earlier this week. He had bought the tickets well in advance. Luca didn't play. So you
yeah,
he was on Facebook like, yo, they need to give us some money back for if the star players don't play. Like he was hot, and I feel him like, dude,
yeah,
your 10-year-old son, you taking him for his birthday to see his favorite player, and he don't dress. Come on.
yeah. And that's what make Michael Jordan the GOAT. That's just another thing because he was two things about Jordan. And then I'm gonna go through some bad things about Jordan, as since we on topic. Two things about Jordan that I like, that we can say he was the best. Most definitely, is one thing. He was well known for knowing to saying that he goes hard every night because he don't know when the person in the crowd, he don't know if that's their first and last time seeing him play. He looked forward to playing for that fan alone, just giving everything he got. I don't know if he was just giving us a good sound bite, but his actions really spoke volumes. He didn't. I mean, after his second season where he had the broken foot, he didn't miss many games, many regular season basketball games outside of retirement.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just something to be said for that. I mean, I'm not just Jordan, but the guys that came from before Jordan, night in and night out, 82 game season. And then another thing with Jordan is I saw a sound bite of him when he was young in his second season. And for all these guys that want to constantly tell you like they just want you to anoint them as being the best. Everybody want to be anointed. I mean, we talk about this LeBron GOAT stuff and whether or not he's the next Jordan or whatever. Every day look for that. It's like they play for that. And it's like Jordan at that time, he would always give homage to the guys before him. He like, I just want to be better. He said all the right words. He never really said he was the best. He never really asked anybody if he was the best, but he would say he wanted to be the best guy on the floor from time to time. But he would never go out on a limb and say he was the best or look at me. It was never nothing like that. It was always, to my knowledge, it was always the competition and the friends be the judge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just saw this stat while we on mic. From '88, he averaged 37, I think 35 points a game, 5.3 assists, 5.9 rebounds. He was defensive player of the year. The Bulls won 50 games that year. He was the MVP that year. I think they lost to the Celtics, and not the Celtics. They lost to the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now I'm like, he did all of that, and a lot of these new players, they will be satisfied with that type of stat line. I'm MVP and defensive player. We won 50 games, but he did all of that, and he came back next year like, nope, this ain't.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
gotta win a championship because it's driving me crazy that they saying I'm the best player and I can do all this, but I can't win because I can't score all these points. That's one of the things you just gotta admire about the dude. And we know he got his flaws. You know, he might go slap Steve Kerr or whatever. He might go gamble before the game. But when it was time to lace him up and go play, he was gonna give you everything he got because he knew I'm Michael Jordan. He realized who he was without saying all the time, look at me, I'm Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Another thing too. Now I want to talk about some of the negatives of Mike. Just recently, I don't know if you had the chance to watch it. I don't know if you watch it at the Pivot podcast.
I think I heard the Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, and Isaiah was his soundbite of saying how he was able to beat Jordan and he beat Jordan. Now, this is the thing with me. If I was able to pick the guy that would squash that beef first, me personally, I would like to think it would be Isaiah Thomas.
Okay.
The reason why is because Isaiah has at times given Jordan his credit for being the best. Uh, and he's always. I mean, even in the '98. Remember back in '98 when Jordan won his last NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah was on the call for that game.
Yeah,
He was there.
yeah.
He was on the NBC call for that game, and he constantly gave Mike his credit. But if you look at the way the NBA trended over the years, Isaiah in that pivot podcast interview, he said that the game was being sold to Michael's skill set. Like all the years before that, guys were just roughhousing, playing good hard defense. Well, I'm not gonna say good hard defense. Some of it was uncalled for. Real physical defense, putting guys on the ass, this, that, and the other. Talking about the Lakers, Celtics, Pistons, stuff like that. And all of a sudden, they changed the rules for Mike. Maybe they did, but nevertheless, even after Detroit, after Mike beat the Pistons and moved on to win a championship, beating the Lakers, he still had to contend with the Knicks. Okay, and the Knicks were probably just as physical as Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Anthony Mason,
Oh,
those guys, Charles Oakley. I don't know if they had as many highlight reels as far as putting Mike on his butt, but I like to think they were probably just as physical, those New York Knicks teams that he had to beat to get to the finals in like '93 and stuff like that. But um, Isaiah, the only reason why I side with Isaiah is Isaiah should have been on that '92 team.
yeah.
He should have been on the '92 Olympic team.
He definitely should have. Yes.
You could have took away. I mean, I think John Stockton was worthy. They put Christian Laettner on the team because they wanted a college player. But I think if you had to decide between who would come off of that team, it would be one of those two guys. Because I just think at that time Isaiah he was probably just as premier as a point guard as Magic was. Considering the fact Magic was dealing with his HIV status at that time, and he was working his way back to get back on the court to play in the Olympics. Isaiah should have been on that team.
I, I,
Uh, I believe Isaiah has it in him to bury that hatchet with Mike, but I just don't know if Mike has it in him to bury that hatchet. And that's my knock on Mike because here it is, we 30 years
I,
beyond, and
yeah.
we still holding that grudge. Come on, man. Those guys have been too successful in their careers. Uh, I do believe that Isaiah won with the least. Yeah, I do believe Isaiah won his two championships with the least. Outside of Joe Dumars, I don't even know if Isaiah played with any of the Hall of Famers. I mean,
No, he didn't. I was just talking to 12 about this on his birthday. Shout out to 12, happy birthday on Wednesday. Um, Isaiah. Okay, so the whole Mike thing. It was a lot of guys on that dream team that did not want Isaiah on there because it wasn't just what he had done with Mike and the freezing him out the All-Star game and the brand of basketball that he was the leader of that team. So the brand of basketball that he allowed his team to play, a lot of guys didn't like that. So that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It wasn't just Mike. It was, we know Scotty was on the team, but Magic then wasn't really feeling that. Karl Malone then wasn't really feeling that. So it was a lot of guys on that team that thought Isaiah was kind of like a snake, like throw a punch and then go run and hide. So that was a lot of it too. I mean, his head coach, his head coach was the coach of the team.
Chuck Daly, yeah.
Yeah. So that was number one. Two, I mean, Mike flexed his power. We know he did.
I mean, maybe he had the last say, but I still think you said a lot. I just think Isaiah deserved to be on that team.
He did.
And when we look back on it, I bet a lot of those guys, maybe outside of Mike, would probably feel the same way that he deserved to be on that team. Not taking anything away from John Stockton. But when hindsight is 2020, I think John Stockton did serve a purpose on that team. But I think Christian Laettner was barely used, if I can
He was.
remember.
I mean, he probably got in during garbage time, And it wasn't like these guys was playing big minutes during that Olympic run because they was blowing teams off the floor. So I mean, what Mike was probably playing 20 minutes a game, if that. But that was more so about, like you said, a lot of guys didn't want Isaiah on that team. You had to look at what David Stern's aim was at that time and trying to globalize the NBA game. And I don't know if I can send Isaiah over here. He's the leader of the bad boy Pistons. When I'm trying to market this game, I want to send our best and flashiest guys over here. So I think that had a lot to do with it too. But Isaiah deserved to be on that team. His credentials stand up to be on that team. He's one of the best point guards ever. I will never say that. But as far as the bad boy Pistons go, I got no love for him, okay? I got no love, and I still have not to this day watched the bad boys Pistons 30 for 30, and I never will.
Well, I got you on that. I feel you because I didn't care for him either. I mean, I didn't care for what was going. I was a Bulls fan at that time, man. And then later on, like I said again, later on after Mike retired, I figured I was a Michael Jordan fan because even right now to this day, the Bulls are playing as we speak. Okay, and I think they're playing the New York Knicks, and I mean, just the Bulls in general. I like to see them play well because of the co-workers and just the region and the country that we live in. It's good to see the city of Chicago and Northwest Indiana have a buzz when it comes to the professional sports teams. But I'm just not a big Bulls fan, and I'm especially not now because I just don't think they play to their strengths. But at that time I was a Bulls fan, and I grew up kind of tired right around '98 when they won the last championship. How did you feel? I remember exactly how I felt. I remember where I was when that game was played
Huh?
and exactly how I felt when that game ended. How did you feel in '98 when the Bulls won and beat the Utah Jazz?
Relieved. I was relieved. It wasn't the supreme just joy and adulation that we probably had on some of the earlier ones, especially the first three. It definitely wasn't that, and especially when Mike came back 72-10, it wasn't that. It was just like, I'm glad we got this done. I'm glad we won. They about to break up the team. Okay, that's fine if you want to do that. I mean, it wasn't fine, but it was just like, we ain't got to see them lose. We ain't got to go through this no more. I was relieved, and I'm sure they was too. They was relieved.
Well, me, I was relieved and I was sick and tired of the bickering that was going on amongst the Chicago Bulls franchise. I don't care if it's the front office or locker room, but I was relieved, but I was sick and tired. And I was just ready. I was ready for them to bust it up because I'm like, if you cannot appreciate being the best, then damn it, step over and let somebody else do it. And I mean, you the best team in the league, and just bickering going on. We're not handling the success well. Let's ride off into the sunset. The fans of Chicago got a chance to see that team finish at the top. Unlike years beyond that with the '85 Bears, but the
Exactly.
dynasty that was busted up for some of the same reasons. But the Bulls were able to get 6 championships with an iconic basketball player, and the fans really deserve that. But I was really, I was fed up with all the bickering, with all the last minute bickering, and when I look back on it, I really think that when I saw the Last Dance, I felt kind of like at times I felt like looking back at it, it kind of looked like there was a lot of disrespect going on. When you talk about Mike and Jerry Krause or Pippen and Jerry, it was a lot of disrespect going on. When you talk about general manager, player, player to general manager, it was just time to bust it up, and I was sick of it. I was sick of it. I was ready to see it over with. And then to follow that season up, they went into a lockout. We didn't have basketball right away anyway, and then the Knicks went on ahead. I think it was the Knicks and
The Spurs.
the Spurs, and the Spurs went on to win a championship the year after that. But I was just ready to see it over with at that time.
Did you
As we get ready, go ahead.
remember, like, because I mean, I'm young. It was just how you just said, I found out I was a Michael Jordan fan, like people be LeBron fans. It was just, I didn't want to see my favorite player, my hero, go out and lose. That's what it was about for me. I wasn't really paying attention to the back and forth of what, Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson was going. I knew it was going on, but I didn't understand really the magnitude of it. Like, when they put on The Last Dance. But for more so than me, it was like, I just don't want to see my guy lose. I don't want to see him lose in his last year. Because we seen Magic we saw how Magic finished. The HIV kind of robbed him of his last few years. But you could say when Mike beat him in the finals, Magic was past his prime then. You could say that. We saw Larry Bird, injuries robbed him. We saw a lot of great players. And it ain't even just got to be basketball. We seen Deion Sanders with the Washington Redskins. That was not prime time. You know what I'm saying? We saw him with the Ravens. He had flashes, but it wasn't prime time. So I just wanted to see my guy go out on top at the top of his game. He's still the most dominant force. And then just like Kobe. Kobe went out with 60, but it was a struggle to get him to that last game. All the injuries, now he was breaking it down. I just wanted to see him go out like the guy I knew he was.
Yeah. When you talk about other athletes, you can talk about Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith went out as a
Cardinal,
Arizona Cardinal, and
yep.
that wasn't Emmitt. I mean, he didn't have his big hoss offensive line that he had in Dallas. But when you talk about former stars just going out,
Ali, yeah, Mike Tyson,
just bad.
yeah.
But Michael did eventually go out unpopular fashion. But I want to bring up Joe Montana as well, because Joe Montana, when he went out, I remember he had the big old knot on his elbow. If I don't know if you can remember, just to see him go out like that, it wasn't nice either. But Jordan had a chance to finish it. He had hit the shot, won the championship. Shades of 1982 when he beat the Georgetown Hoyas in the 1982 national championship and kind of put his name on the national map. And then he goes out like that in game 6 of the finals against the Utah Jazz. Then he comes back and messes it all up. Classic Mike, too competitive. He wants to jump back on the floor. And now he's with the Wizards. Messed up the great ending. And I mean, he did some nice things in Washington with the Wizards, but
that's how great he is. Like we kind of just erased those 2 years from my memory with him playing with the Wizards. I remember when he came back to the Wizards, I was like, man, Mike back, and then Michael Jackson was dropping the Invincible album. I'm like, man, it's the 80s all over again. Let's go.
yeah,
But it wasn't the 80s. It was not.
damn sure wasn't. Like I said, I just wasn't in great approval. Before he actually came back, before he actually tipped off against the Knicks that season, I thought I was feeling it. But that night, opening night, Michael Jordan in the Garden with the Wizards playing against the Knicks. Once they tipped the ball off, I was like, "This ain't it. This ain't it." And then he ended his season with the leg warmers on. I mean, he ended his career with leg warmers on. Come on, that wasn't a tongue wagging. Jim Shue told Mike that I knew from Chicago, set the trend, set up a culture, and he went out like that.
It
Hey,
wasn't the knee pad on the shin. It wasn't that.
no, man, it's just old Mike. You know what I'm saying? But old Mike was better than a lot of guys at that time. He just wasn't playing his team went on a championship level.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't want to compare it to Brady right now, but because Brady's in a worse situation. But to close out the show, man, we're gonna uh to kind of give everybody some give insight to how we want to do this thing going forward. So now I want to take a look at the NBA because I believe going forward after these Christmas Day games, we're gonna talk a lot more about NBA games. So when we look at the NBA and you're looking at the standings in the NBA, favorites and whatnot to do certain things in the Eastern and Western Conference in the NBA. Right now, I don't know who's at the top, but I'm gonna take a look. I'm gonna take a look.
You got
I think Phoenix might be at the top of the West.
No, right now, so first in the West is Denver, 19-11. They tied with the Grizzlies, 19-11. Then we got the Pelicans, 19-12. I think they had just ran off 8 straight, and then they lost the other night, and then they got another win. So we got Phoenix in fourth, Clippers 5, Kings 6, Jazz 7, because they got off to a real good start after they had blew that whole thing up. Laurie Markkinen, ex-Chicago Bulls, actually playing really well out there.
Yeah.
Trailblazers 8, Mavs 9, Timberwolves 10, and Warriors 11. Notable mention, the Lakers in 13th. And just to run through the East, we got Bucks 1, Celtics 2, Cavs 3. They went all in on the moves they made, getting Donovan Mitchell. 22 and 11. We got, as we call them, me and Cutter Pac-Man, Shit Show East, the Brooklyn Nets at 20 and 12, fourth. 76ers fifth, Knicks 6, Heat 7, Hawks 8, Pacers 9, 10 the Raptors, and rounding it out just for our Chicago viewers, the Bulls in 11th at 13 and 18.
Okay, so I think we might be a little early calling out because the style of play in the NBA is just so all over the place. Nobody really plays to their strengths. Everybody kind of trying to play the same style of game. When you talk about how the Bulls and Heat matched up, that sounded like that was the one night that the Bulls played to their matchups and just kind of like letting Vucevic go down and just dominating the paint.
They
But
went
that's
away.
inconsistent. They don't do that every night.
Yeah, they started the game playing like that, got a lead. They let Miami get back in the game and take the lead because they went away from it. And then down the stretch, they went back to it, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that's just a perfect segue on how I want to kind of cover the NBA going forward because, as I told you before, and I tell a lot of people that I talk to when we talk about sports, it's kind of late in the show, so I don't even know if he's gonna be able to get this, but I'm gonna make sure I mention him. My boy Ian, his name is Ian Smith, one of my old coworkers. He's down in North Carolina, and he just hit me up. He was like, "Man, he from Chicago, from the south suburbs. He say, man, I'm just hitting you up, man. What you think about the Bulls?" He say, "I know." He say, when I watch the Bulls game, he like, "Man, I know you wouldn't approve of that." So I say, "Well, it's hard when you don't have the best player on the team, which is the guy that makes things go. When that's Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball made it go for the Bulls last year, getting guys opportunities to score, easy opportunity buckets, spearheading the defense on the defensive end, and finding a way to get his 14 to 15 points in the process. Was now you got guys dribbling all over the place, my turn, your turn offense. Oh, by the way, tonight we gonna go down low and play inside our boot. It's so much inconsistency with teams in the NBA, not just the Bulls, but a lot of teams in the NBA. Everyone can't play like Steph Curry. And as great as Steph is, I just think it's popular amongst fans, don't get me wrong, but I just think basketball is one of those sports that no matter how it's played, the fans are going to watch it. I just be, we talk about this all the time. I just think one day we're going to get back to the variety of the game, mid
I,
range, 3 point, and the low post.
I hope so. I mean, and not to sound like two old guys here, but the Bulls ran the triangle offense. It wasn't no other teams in the league running no triangle offense. Now they may have stole some principles here and there, but it wasn't that. Like you had the Knicks playing their style that they played. You had the Lakers; they were still trying to do Showtime. We had Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. They was playing up and down. You had Houston; they want to throw it into Dream and let him get his stuff off with shooters around him. Like you just had variety around the league. Everybody can't play like the Warriors. Everybody can't shoot threes every night.
Mhm.
It's just so bland right now. We just gonna shoot threes. We gonna switch everything on defense, and it don't matter if Devin Booker is playing or not. We can still give up 130 points. Like that don't make no sense. The lead score on the other team is out, and you still give up 130.
Yeah. Shot selection, defense, and rebounding is really missing in the NBA. I want to compare it to the circus. And the reason why I say this because I mean we know it's entertainment, but entertainment is best when it's at a variety. And when you get too much of anything, it's not any good. So you go out there, and I don't know the shot attempts. So at one point, it was team shooting, and it's probably still team shooting 30, 43 point shots a game. And then when you look at the total number of shots in the whole game, it's like the 3 point shot sometimes is over 40 to 50% of the shot selection.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's
It looks more like a joke in a circus more so than just a strategic basketball game. I got a 7 footer and no one else on the floor is no more than 6'8". I'm trying to get it to that skilled big man if I got him. So that's just how we feel about it, man. But it's too early to call the NBA right now. The NFL is wrapping up. Uh, we're gonna kind of see who wraps up in the AFC and NFC. I think the NFC, like I told you before, I think NFC, NFL football, 49ers looking good no matter who they put at quarterback, they're getting the job done. Jalen Hurts being out, we're gonna get a chance to see him go up against the Dallas Cowboys. Gardner Minshew will be getting that start on Christmas Eve, I believe. And kind of too early to call that. I like the 49ers in the NFC only because uh uh so Shanahan, the coach,
yeah.
he's really dialing up some good stuff. In the AFC, I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
You're gonna go to Chiefs. I thought you was gonna go Bengals 49ers, but yeah, I can't be. It's just something about Buffalo. I just feel like when I need them most, they'll have one of them dud games. And like, remember my man Ken Dorsey was breaking the the tablet and stuff. Like they just seem very capable to have them moments in the biggest moment. And I think they're a great team, but I will put my money definitely on Chiefs and Bengals before I go Buffalo.
Yeah, I just like I said, I think the Chiefs experience, and if they mess around and get to Buffalo one of those weekends where they never, well, we know there's going to be cold, but it's not going to be a lot of snow or the elements to deal with other than the cold. Because I don't think the cold would harm the Chiefs,
It's
but I
cold in
think,
Kansas City, yeah.
yeah, I think the snow will,
Yeah,
not the cold. So if they could go into Buffalo where they got clear, a good field, we're talking about the playing surface is cool.
yeah,
Well, they got more weapons, and that's what I'm saying. If the playing surface is fair, I give the Chiefs the edge even over the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, because I just think they have more guys to work with, more experience, and I have to give them a notch at the quarterback position. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs and the AFC. The NFC, I like the 49ers, but I'm going out on a limb because they playing musical chairs with their quarterback. So I mean, you got to give the credit to the coaching staff. I mean, Shanahan's he's drawing up good stuff no matter who's the signal caller.
and they'll be getting Debo back. I think not this week, next week. Debo will be back, so they're gonna be a tough out. I would probably pick the Eagles right now over the 49ers just because of the quarterback situation. Um, but if I know Jimmy G done for the year, but if Jimmy G was there, it'd be hard to pick against the 49ers.
Oh yeah, I got you on that. Uh, so what we're gonna do? We're gonna let this thing play out, Soldier Field, throughout the NFL tomorrow. Maybe we'll take a shot at getting back at you guys tomorrow evening, after the Eagles and Cowboys game, and we can kind of have some fun with our Bears game and kind of see who survived the frostbite tomorrow.
Well, either way it go, I know I'm gonna be warm. I know you gonna be warm. I'm probably gonna have some brown, but I'm not gonna be out there on the lakefront. Okay, I'm not.
Got that right. I want to send a shout out to the Taylor Made boys. I'm gonna send another shout out to them tomorrow, just in case they didn't get it tonight. Because early in the season, and I'm gonna wrap up with this. Early in the season, uh, uh, Greg Taylor, one of the Taylor made boys, he uh I think his brother Chris made a suggestion. Let's go to the Buffalo game. I think I think that was a good decision not to make that investment at this point. We will be safe and sound, cozy and warmy in our homes watching this game. Watch the game podcast, Buffs, Bears, Buffalo Bills. And we'll be back at you tomorrow, man. Stay safe, stay warm, watch the game podcast.
Hey, we out. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We back at y'all tomorrow after the Bears thaw out. We
You
out.
got that right. Another thing too, Bears hibernate in the winter, right?
Yeah.
So why is it bear weather? I'm out.